Alright, so today we're going to do a closed environment test with the Filter Queen Defender. This car is going to represent a completely or semi-completely sealed environment where any of the particles that are in there would stay in there. Any particles from the outside would not be able to make their way in there. For this test, we're going to use the Dylos Particle Counter. You can kind of see it on the side of the window. We'll open the door in a bit here. And then also we are going to use a Filter Queen Defender, obviously. And if you look here, this is our Dylos. We're just using it near the window so we can actually read it. And then our Defender. So right now the Defender is on. We're going to turn it off and we'll let it sit there for about 10-15 minutes just to kind of get a good picture of what the environment in there is like. After that, we will come back and we will look at what the particle counter reads, as well as turn that Defender on and see what we get down to in terms of particles. So we'll be back in about 10-15 minutes. Okay, so actually it didn't take 10 or 15 minutes, it only took a couple minutes. If you come look here, so this readout right now, if we can get a good little shot here, the particle, or the number on the left, is the smaller particles. So these are the 0.1 micron range, or sorry, the 1 micron range. These are particles that are unseen. And the 11 represents the larger particles. These are all actually representation of particles multiplied by 100. So this would actually be a reading of over 10,000 particles. Over 100,000 small particles and 7,000 large particles. So that is the current reading for the vehicle. We haven't introduced any particles. It's just represents what's in there. It'd be an accumulation of dead skin, different airborne particulates from the outside that make their way into the car, pollen, any dust and debris that might get in there. So that's what those numbers represent. Right now we have you won't really be able to see through the window there, we have the Defender off. So the next step, we're going to turn the Defender on and just watch as those particles go down. In this type of environment, it's closed, but it's also small, so it's going to be quite rapid. Obviously, in your standard room, 700 square feet or less, you're looking at the speed that we're going to have it on, filtering all of the air in that space, anywhere from about 8 to 10 times per hour. Obviously, we're going to do that a lot faster, being that it's a smaller space. So I'll go ahead and turn this on, and we'll switch over and give you a better view of the particles. Maybe if you go over there and look at the particles, I'll switch on. So when it first comes on, you might see a bit of a spike. What will happen is it'll actually work to the fan in it. Obviously, it's circulating air quite rapidly, so it'll actually lift a bit of the particles, the larger particles especially, off the surfaces in the car. But what we can see is a declining number of small particles, which is the number that's at 72 right now. And then our large particles have already gone down to 3, or down to 2. We're going to see those drop off quite rapidly. We'll probably lose all of our large particles, that being a good thing. So we're going to lose those here in the next minute or so. The 56, 54, 53, that is our smaller particles, our 1 micron size. That will take a little bit longer, but we should be probably under the 5-minute mark to get us down to about 1, and then maybe a little bit longer, a couple minutes, to get us down to 0 particles. And again, this represents 30 that we're going to get to. That's 3,000 small particles, and that 1 represents now, or 0, well, it would have been 1,000, now represents 0 large particles, or under 1,000 again, and then that one will be under 2,200. So we're not quite at the 1 minute mark here, about 15 seconds off, and we've already gone down from about 100,000 particles to 17,000. And that's the 1 minute mark. We're at 13,000 particles. There we go, a little bit of shade. 10,000. And of course our large particles are still at 0. So we're going down a bit quicker than I actually thought, which is obviously great. We're at the 2 minute mark, and we're already down from 100,000 particles to 6,000 particles. So these smaller particles represent much more harmful particulate. This tends to be the range where you're getting into bacteria, viruses, mold spores. This would be virus particles that might not be attached to water droplets. So still, if someone coughs, sneezes, just breathes in the air, if they have any sort of virus, that would be the particulate range that we're at right now. So when we're talking about filtering at a certain rate per hour, we're looking at 8 to 10 times per hour here, taking all of that air in the space and filtering it down. That means that if someone were to cough in a space, in this car or in a room, you're not looking at you're looking at eliminating those particles quite rapidly. So just hovering back and forth here, it's going to, the last few particles can take a little bit longer. We passed the 3 minute mark at about almost 3.5 minutes. Obviously still 0 particles for large particles. Down to 2 at the, we're at 4 minute mark? 4 minute mark. And down to 1,000 or 1. Oh. And sometimes our last one can take a little bit. But we will get down to absolutely a fully sterile, closed environment in there. I don't think anyone would perform surgery in my vehicle, but if they needed to at this point, or very soon they could. And we're just at the 5 minute mark. Five and a half minutes. Like I said, the last one can, oh, there we go. So 5.5 minutes. We got down to 0 small particles. Oop. And 0 large. Oh, and where's our large particles? There we go. And 0 large particles. All right. So that's our test again with just the closed system, nothing introduced. The next test we'll do, we're going to actually simulate particles being introduced into the environment using a match. So this match, the smoke from it would represent either smoke, maybe from a forest fire, or a child coming into a classroom with any sort of virus particles being transmitted into the air through breathing, through any form of aerosol transmission. So we'll come back and do it with the match in about 5 minutes here.